Please, God.
This is God.
Hey guys, the Explorer 4 here, Horrorboy465. Welcome back to some more reviews, and today I'm continuing my reviews on the Friday the 13th franchise with my review of Friday the 13th Part 2. Now, Friday the 13th Part 2 came out in 1981, gets a 6.1, I believe, on IMDb. Yes, it does get a 6.1. Directed by Steve Miner, who I'm actually a big fan of Steve Miner. I mean, he's made some movies I'm not really a big fan of. Like in my personal opinion, I'm not a fan of Halloween H2O. It's a movie I think is very overrated in the Halloween franchise. I know it's a movie that a lot of people love, but I do not like Halloween H2O. For me, that's one of the worst ones, and just my opinion. I did a review for it. If you guys want to go check it out, I have more in-depth reasons of why I don't like that movie, or why I'm not particularly a fan of that film. So yeah, Halloween H2 I'm not really a big fan of. I guess he made a movie called Forever Young with Mel Gibson. Never seen it. He also did the Day of the Dead remake, which was horrible. I did a rant on that as well. It's just a very badly made remake, like a horribly made remake, bad quality, very cheesy ideas, and just I don't know. Day of the Dead the remake was all over the place, but he did make Friday the 13th Part 2, Friday the 13th Part 3. He did make Lake Placid. He made some pretty good movies. He directed some pretty good stuff. Like, I'm a big fan of Lake Placid. I'm a big fan of Friday the 13th Parts 2 and 3. He directed a movie called Warlock, which I'm a big fan of. House, the original, which I do remember seeing a long time ago and thinking that it was okay. And of course, I think right now he's just been doing a lot of TV stuff. But yeah, Steve Miner, even though I'm not a fan of Halloween H2O, I'm not a fan of Day of the Dead, the remake. I am a huge fan of this film, Friday the 13th Part 2. It is my favorite film of the franchise. It's kind of hard to choose that because I love this franchise a lot, so it's very hard to choose a particular favorite because I love the first 4 movies I love to death. Actually, the first 5 movies I love to death. 6 I love as well. 7 is okay, and we'll get to those later on sequels when we get to them. But the first 5 movies are excellent. I love all 5 of the first movies. They're just fantastic, and a lot of them don't have any problems at all that I can really think of. And Friday the 13th Part 2, I think, kind of is a little bit better than the first movie. It's my favorite one for many reasons. And I think this was one of those very few times where a sequel really did. I mean, I guess you could say it's kind of a copy of Friday the 13th, but in my opinion, they did it a little bit more better. Like, I love the first Friday the 13th. I think it's a great movie. I think it's a classic. But with Part 2, I think you had Jason in the mix. You had that great, awesome look of Jason in this movie. You had some pretty good kills, some pretty good effects. You had a very awesome lead, Amy Steele, which I'm a big fan of. You had great location once again, great score once again. So this movie, even though it is a bit similar to the original movie, I will say that, it is very similar. But these are in this case, this franchise, I'm not really gonna, judge them for that because they don't full on copy each other, but they do have similar stuff. I will give it that. It does have some similar stuff at times. Part 2 and Part 3 especially. Part 2 and Part 3 you can definitely tell have the sort of repeat effect to them. But is it a total knockoff of the original? I don't think it is. I think it's a bumped up sequel. I think it's a sequel that has really fast pace, a really awesome atmosphere once again. The first 5 movies have amazing atmospheres. The first movie being my favorite, but the second movie also had a pretty good atmosphere. So I also do have the deluxe edition here, just to show you guys the poster. Not much to the poster, and the DVDs pretty much all look like that, the gray discs. So, I mean, I could show you guys the deluxe editions all the time, but they really don't look that much different from these DVDs. And I don't know, these DVDs I think have better artwork up to a certain point. Like, a point of sequels. Like after part 6, the artwork's already going downhill. But I prefer these artworks more than this stuff because to me this looks kind of cheesy. And that is not a part 4. That right there is not a part 4 mask. I'm sorry, it's just not. But yeah, Friday Part 2 came out in 1981, a year later. The first movie was a big hit, so they had to make a sequel fast. Steve Miner got involved. I believe he was also involved with the first movie a lot. So he was director in this movie. The idea was to bring back Jason and make Jason the main enemy of the film, the main killer of the film. And I know that when this decision was made, I know that Sean Cunningham at first was like, well, I don't know if that's going to work. And I think that he was saying that it just wasn't realistic and it's not possible because the original movie was not meant to have that ending just to bring Jason back. It was meant to be just a jump scare dream sequence. But, they took a chance, they took a risk, and they decided to make Jason the main killer and bring him back. And I thought that it was a genius decision. I think it's a very risky decision because, you're taking a character who was said to be dead before, and you're sort of toying with the story a little bit because I guess the first, the 3 sequels after this, I wouldn't say the 4 because Part 5, it's a sequel, but there's not really Jason, and we'll get to that a little bit later. But Parts 2, 3, and 4, I guess from my point of view, that's the human Jason for me. So if it's the human Jason, you're sort of taking the original movie story and tweaking it a little bit, even though we've already heard the, not excuses, but the reasons behind the first movie. It is risky to go in there and kind of tweak it and be like, well, maybe he didn't die necessarily. Maybe he just, thought he was dead. Maybe they thought he was dead. He came back and watched his mom get beheaded. It's a very risky thing, but that's why I got to give credit to this movie because it handled it very well. It handled it very professionally. It was handled not to the point where it was blatantly obvious. They went back and changed the script and stuff. No, they sort of worked around it. They were like, maybe Jason was supposedly drowned, but maybe he also seen his mom get beheaded, and then he grew up in the woods and became this mongoloid. And you have the awesome look of Jason in this movie, which is personally my favorite look. I think that the hockey mask look is a little bit more iconic, but the sackhead look is a little bit more creepy. So I love the hockey mask look. I think it's a classic, awesome look for Jason. But if I would have to say, my favorite one would have to be the sackhead Jason because it's just very creepy the way it looks. Some people call it Hillbilly Jason. Some people call it the Elephant Man version or the Town Dread Sundown version of Jason. But, I think it's a very creepy look. I think it has its own awesome look to it. I think it was an awesome first look for Jason. The beginning of Jason. First costume, definitely very, in my opinion, memorable, very creepy, very eerie. The hillbilly look really looked very creepy as well. And I really like that. I really like the fact that you're getting Jason in this movie for the first time, and you have the first look, which is pretty cool. And before I get into the review, I actually wanted to show you guys this. I bought this a long time ago, like back in 2014. I bought this. It was about $30, so I dropped a lot of money on it. But it was very cool to get. I've had it pretty much up there if you guys have seen it. That right there is a Dragon Ball, but on that shelf right there, you guys might have seen this figure stand up or not. I'm not too sure. But I figure I would show them in this video because this is my review of Friday the 13th Part 2. And, yeah, I have this. This is a Friday the 13th Part 2, I don't know if I'd say action figure or, display doll or action figure. I'm just going to call it a figure, display figure. But yeah, it's a Part 2 Jason figure. And what's really cool about this figure is that it actually comes with some pretty cool added weapons. So you get like a pickaxe, which is pretty awesome. And then it's really well detailed. And it's really awesome to get the pickaxe. Which I don't really think he did not use this in a kill in the movie. He did some damage with it, busting down the door and hitting Amy Steele in the back of the leg, on the front of the leg or the side of the leg, wherever he cut her at. But he did not do a kill with this, which is kind of crazy because it could have been an awesome kill. I mean, it could have been even just a pickaxe to the face or just some awesome stuff. Because My Bloody Valentine took advantage of that. They used his weapon, and they made it awesome because you had the scene where the guy got the eyeball, or his eyeball popped out, and it's like right on the end of the freaking pickaxe. So yeah, there's a pickaxe. He also does come with of course, it's a Jason figure. Of course, he has to come with a machete. And this camera is not really going to pick up a lot of detail, but the machete is actually pretty well detailed. There's blood on it. Very, very cool addition as well. It did come with the pitchfork, but the figure, I think, fell one day and the pitchfork broke. So, unfortunately, the pitchfork is broken. And what's actually cool about the way it broke is that, if you remember in part 2, in the film, Amy Steele is under a bed and Jason's on a chair with the pitchfork. And the chair breaks, and when he falls, the pitchfork hits the ground and breaks the pitchfork. And it broke it right on the handle. Well, actually, when this figure fell, it broke right on the handle. So, in a way, I kept it because it's like, I think it's over there somewhere. I still have it because I'm like, hey, it just adds more detail because what happened to it in the film, they're just so crazy how that happened. That's exactly how it broke in the movie, so it's pretty cool. I don't know. I was kind of upset about it at first, and I'm like, well, now it's a little bit more screen accurate. It did break in the movie, so that's pretty cool. And the figure itself is actually really awesome because it's got real clothes. I think this was like to mimic or to do sort of an homage to 70s action figures who had real clothes and not plastic clothes or not sculpted on clothes. This is actually a real cloth figure. And if you take the mask off, of course you see Jason's face, which is at the at the end of the film. And it's pretty cool looking, pretty screen accurate. They did a pretty good job on it. It's very well sculpted. Very cool. I really like this figure. But yeah, this figure I'd show you guys, that's pretty cool. I just bought it, and I've been meaning to show you guys this for a while, but I figured I'd wait until I review the Jason movies, and now is the time to show you guys this figure. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Something that I bought for part 2 because I'm a really big fan of it. And then also this thing comes with a really awesome looking cardboard background, which is very well done artwork. You got Jason right here and his mom in the background and the logo, part 2 right there. Very awesome. And you actually have a read up here in the back, which what it says is, just when you thought it was safe to go back to camp 5 years after the horrible bloodbath at Camp Crystal Lake, all that remains is the legend of Jason Voorhees and his demented mother, who had murdered 7 camp counselors. At the nearby summer camp, new counselors are unconcerned about the warnings to stay away from the infamous site. Carefree, the young people from the area, not sensing the ominous lurking presence, one by one, they are attacked and brutally slaughtered. So, yeah, it's also a very cool addition as you get this really awesome cardboard background, which I love this. It's very, very well designed. And time to get into the actual story of the film. The movie picks up, I believe, is like 5 or 6 years after the original's story. And you got these group of new camp counselors are going to go near Crystal Lake. Not really at Camp Crystal Lake, but they're going near it. I believe it was called Packanack Lodge, or was it Packanack? I believe it was Packanack. And it's pretty much this new camp. Yeah, Campanack Lodge. I thought it was Packanack. I don't know. Campanack, Packanack. I think it was something like that. And a brand new camp has opened up at Camp Crystal Lake. These new counselors are there to have this. It's not really at Crystal Lake. It was near it. And pretty much the beginning of the movie starts off with Jason getting his revenge for his mom. He goes to Adrienne King's house and kills her. And then when he's done with that, he goes back to Crystal Lake and notices there's these kids building this, sort of getting this other camp ready near his camp, Crystal Lake. And it's sort of really basic. The teens are having fun once again, doing drugs, having sex, drinking beer, having a fun time, and Jason just starts brutally slaughtering them one by one, and the kills are freaking crazy in this movie. I mean, this one guy gets like hung upside down on a rope and his throat slit by a machete. You have a really cool double kill with these couples having sex, and Jason comes with his freaking spear and just boom, double kill right through the bed, right through both of them. Very, very cool scene. Very, very awesome death scene. You also have a death scene where it's not really the most graphic one, but there's this girl, she gets stabbed by a kitchen knife. Get that really, it's like a really well shot scene, but why this girl didn't run out the room, I don't know, because literally you just see Jason's hand and the kitchen knife walking slowly towards this girl. It's a POV shot, and the girl just stands there like, ah. She doesn't really try to run. She just sort of stands there. I'm like, oh man, she could have ran, but you know, it was a cool death scene. I mean, it wasn't really the greatest, but it was, I guess, decent. Yeah, like an off-screen death scene because a girl runs and she screams at the camera and you don't see her die. One guy gets a machete to the face, a claw hammer to the back of the head. Crazy Ralph from the original gets like barbed wire wrapped on his neck and strangled. I believe that's about it for the death scenes in this movie. I really can't think of anything else. And yeah, I mean, it gets to the end of the movie where Jenny and Paul arrive at the camp, the sort of main characters of the film, and they sort of battle Jason. And you have Sackhead Jason chasing Jenny around the camp. You have some really great scene going on. The scene where she's in the bathroom and then the freaking pitchfork goes right to the door. Or she's in the bathroom and Jason goes to the window. When she's in the kitchen, the pitchfork goes right to the door. She opens the door and Crazy Ralph's body is right there. The end of the movie is actually very cool as well, where, you know, Jenny, she does this really smart thing where she puts on the sweater of Mrs. Voorhees and tells Jason, and pretty much tricks Jason that, you know, she's his mom. And Jason is sort of distracted by this, and then he snaps out of it and takes the pitchfork and just cuts Jenny's leg. Paul comes in the fight Jason for a little bit, but doesn't really do much. And then Amy still gets the machete, sticks it right here, boom, in the Jason's sort of shoulder area. Jason falls over to take the mask off. You don't see the face at first, which is kind of like, oh man, come on. You know, you didn't really show his face at first. But at the end of the movie where, you know, they think everything's fine, and Jason flies to the jump, he like jumps right through the window and grabs Amy Steele, and you see that face, the ugly, horrible face of Jason Voorhees. And it's a very crazy scene, it's like very memorable scene. And the ending, like the very end of the film, is very confusing because it's like, I guess it might have been a dream what happened before, where Jason, you know, crashed through the window, because Jenny's still alive, but Paul's missing. And then the very last shot of the movie is a zoom-in shot of Mrs. Voorhees' head. And I guess the ending could have been done, like the very ending could have been done a little bit better, because it's like, well, then what happened? I mean, did Jason not kill her? Did he just frighten her and her pass out? Or did it not happen? Was the ending scene a dream where he crashed through the window? Was that all just a dream? But then how did it kind of does not make sense. No matter how you look at it, no matter what way you look at it still does not make sense. But, you know, I can look past those little problems. The fact that the one girl wouldn't run and that the ending is kind of confusing. The movie is very well paced. I mean, it goes by in a flash, like really fast. I love the new theme song at the beginning of the movie. It's very classic. The movie is very well shot, very slowly built. The third act is, once again, awesome. I just love that about these movies, how it's a slow build-up. You know, you got some kills, got some nudity, got some kids having fun, and then Jason comes in and kills these kids, and then the very end of the movie is a lead girl, or lead guy, sometimes the lead guy, like Part 9 was lead guy. Lead character comes back and fights Jason, and you have a giant chase in the movie. Like, the third act of these movies are always really cool. They're always fast-paced and, you know, very just, you know, a lot of chase scenes and stuff like that. Just very well done. And Friday the 13th Part 2, I think it's just a great sequel. I think it's a good movie. I think it's a movie that's definitely it bumped up from the original, which is a very rare thing to happen in the sequel. It's got a really great look for Jason Voorhees, and I don't know. I mean, I just love Part 2. I mean, Part 2 is a classic film. Really enjoy it. But anyways, guys, that's pretty much it for my review of Friday the 13th Part 2. It's very well made, very classic. I enjoy the characters. I enjoy the atmosphere, the score, the kills. Very fast-paced movie. Very, very good film. Definitely recommend it. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching my review of Friday the 13th Part 2. And I'll see you guys a little bit later on for my review of Part 3 in 3D. A New Dimension in Terror. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching the review. The Explorer 4 out, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.